So,
My name is Harriet Hooper. I'm currently studying fashion design at Leeds Arts. My father, he used to be a tailor for a period of his life, and it's always been a passion of his. And then when I was growing up, he used to tell me a lot about it, and it was just fascinating. And my grandmother used to make all dresses for my aunties and my mum, and she'd never buy them a new dress or something. She'd always make it. So it's always been in the family, which has been really lovely. When I was doing GCSEs, I'd go home and I'd talk to my father and be like, oh, this is what I'm doing, and he'd be like, oh, have you thought of doing it this way? And he'd show me how to do buttonholes by hand, because obviously he was taught in a specific way rather than how we'd taught where you just put your fabric under the machine and you get your whole eyelet and buttonhole done really easily. But yeah, it was the little things that started it off, and then continued to do it for A-level. And I was quite lucky because at my school we had quite a good connection to Tatler, and so they put a fashion show on, and it's the press was done by Tatler, which sort of sparked me to want to do more. And it was good. I really enjoyed it. It all started because of this fashion show at school, and I was like, this is definitely something I'd like to continue more, because I really enjoy it. I like the way that, for art, the blank canvas is your starting point. For fashion, it's just the body and the structure, and you can go as far out of the body or tight to the body as you want. And it's the freedom to just, create a wearable sculpture. It's been really good. Well, the first year of university was COVID. So it was interesting because we didn't go in as much, but we were quite lucky that we were able to go in compared to other unis, because we're quite a small school. But in second year was when it all really got much better. And we did a menswear collection type thing. And that was it was still to this day one of my favorite pieces I've ever made. And you just get such good technical support there. So whatever you want to make, you're able to make it. And they also, through university, I got a job in York working for Mary Benson, which I absolutely adored. And I'd travel there every day. Basically, I wasn't in uni for about 4 or 5 months. And I learned how to print vinyl onto dresses and working with different medias. And it was also nice working in the industry while doing uni on the side. I think if I didn't go to uni, it would be still I think it would be a lot more unwearable. A lot of my pieces I did at the beginning for GCSE and A-level, they were quite wild and wacky, and they were good and they looked great, but it wasn't a sustainable route to go down in the future, because it was not very employable as such, because all I had was these crazy big puffy things. And yeah, I didn't have any technical skills. So I'm very lucky that I had the technical skills to support the wacky creative aspect. I think the work experience I had with Mary Benson, I wouldn't have got if I was still at home, because I wouldn't have known much about fashion designers in the North. I wouldn't have known about, it wouldn't have been as personal, because it's such a growing brand. It was very hands-on, and whereas for a bigger company in London, for example, I probably wouldn't have got such a good experience, and it would have been more making teas and bits and bobs. I grew up in London, so coming to Yorkshire is very different. And it's just nice to see the creative aspect here rather than London. And it sparked new ideas and I think meeting loads of different creatives through all different places, whether it's music, film, fashion, has all helped my creative journey. I've actually been thinking about this a lot. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do when I graduate. I'm thinking I may go abroad because London's too expensive. I've really enjoyed my time in Leeds, but I've enjoyed it as a student and learning and meeting loads of the creatives. So I think I think I do need to decide what I'm going to do after. But staying in Leeds is definitely on the table because I've loved being in the north, and it's just full of creatives. I think there's a lot of small up and coming things like fashion shows and fashion communities. I met this guy called Chives, and he does this thing called Garment Enterprise, and he puts on a catwalk with music and stalls. And I met him just like at the pub or something, and just hearing, he does, I can't remember what he does, but he puts on this event, and it's just, no matter if you do fashion or not, people still want to combine fashion and music. And yeah, so there's a lot more popping up, and you're seeing a lot more student-led fashion projects and runways. Different pieces have different inspirations and themes behind it. One of my coats that I made was for a university project where it was, one of the themes on WGSN was industrial nature. And so I combined almost like a outerwear duffel coat type thing with rust, and I dyed all the wools myself. So half of it was cream and the rest was rusted wool to bring the industrial factor into it, because nature and obviously modern things and metals and they rust. And so I rolled up wool and I sprayed it with vinegar and wire wool in the wool, so that when I left it for 3 days, and it would oxidize and rust, and it'd create all these rusted shapes all over the wool, and it'd be orange and browns and speckled. And that was, the reason for doing that was inspired by the theme industrial nature. Other ones I've done, I recently did a project called Airbag, and that was to do with protection and protecting yourselves, whether it's mentally, physically, or any other form of protection that you have feelings towards. And it was actually a collaboration between about 6 of us. And I created these yellow, puffy garments and had aeroplane seat belts on and clips. And this boy called Grace Glover wrote poetry about protecting yourselves. And there was a videographer called Beth, and she did the film for it. And in the film, she wanted to address the fact that you can, when you're meeting, let's say even someone you love or you like on a day-to-day basis, you can put up a facade and not want to take your barriers down because you're protecting yourself. And whether you're protecting yourself to hide away and not put yourself out there and be in that relationship or meet a new person, we wanted to show that everybody does it, whether it's in good ways or bad ways. And in one of the stills from it, there was a big yellow, almost spooky figure looking thing. And that was to represent how sometimes other people, to protect themselves, they throw others under the bus. And obviously it's not a very good thing, but we wanted to address that in this piece of work. And there were 2 garments, one for a male, one for a female. And they actually did switch it up both ways. And I really enjoyed doing that, and that all came from the topic of protection. And we were also just coming out of COVID. So in the way we were physically protecting ourselves, we started uni at this point. So we were also mentally protecting ourselves when we were meeting new people, trying to like not be someone you're not, but try and make friends in this very like early period of university. And so it kind of mirrored the fact that when the COVID restrictions eased, you'd begin to know these people more and reflect how you'd also like put your guard down and put yourself out there more. And that's kind of how it all started. I think definitely because humans are the ones wearing the clothes. And I think they have to feel comfortable in what they're wearing. And they can't be just like swallowed by the garment. Unless they want to be swallowed by the garment, and that's also okay. But I feel like in terms of that, if a person wants to feel a certain way, clothes can definitely help them to achieve that. And I don't know about you, but I feel very uncomfortable when I'm just in like a white t-shirt and tight jeans because it doesn't really feel like me. But I'm much happier in like big baggy black trousers and a baggy t-shirt. So I think in terms of how one wants to feel, clothes definitely help you to achieve that. A lot of my inspiration does come from art, but I can't specifically think of one. I think it's just like a multitude of things that I see or hear about or come across, whether it's other friends' works where like, let's say it's a graphic designer, they're doing a new poster for something, and the way they've done it, like, oh, those colours look nice together. And then you might try it out in a sample and then see where that sample takes you, and from there, like, build up. I definitely think just art, being surrounded by art and being surrounded by other creatives, you hear about little things or a different artist that you might not have heard of. Or I was looking at the Rorschach test for an idea of what I was going to do my graduate collection on. And one of my friends said, oh, have you looked at the Cornelia Parker exhibition recently? She's done snake venom drawings. And in the same ink, you could try like different types of inks for the Rorschach test. So I think just talking to people about what you're doing, other people's ideas definitely help, and it's just nice learning of others and giving them ideas that they might have not thought of. A lot of my friends or people that I've met are pursuing music in their careers, and it's definitely influenced my work. So there's an incredible musician called Yusuf Yellow, and I made him a suit for one of his shows. And before this, I'd actually made him a utility vest with Yusuf Yellow on the back. And that was like, I think one of the first times I'd done a utility vest, so it like opened me up to like learning different techniques or more wearable things that you can move in and perform in. And for his most recent show, I created a suit which was about, one of his songs is about how it's felt growing up mixed raced and how he doesn't feel like he fits into his mum's side or his dad's side fully. So I went to the fabric shop with him, and he matched his mum's and his dad's skin colours to the fabric. And then I created him this suit, and he performed in it. And in terms of music, helped inspiring me, talking to him, and trying to create his vision and make it possible, definitely influenced specifically that garment at least. I feel like everybody's very much influenced by music all the time, whether it's punk music and they're wearing like the punk outfits, or if it's more queer community and that, like the outfits, some of the, even to do drag queens, the outfits, that the music that they sing, and even going towards like hyperpop. And Sophie, for example, her garments that she'd wear were beautiful, and that was definitely, trends came off the music that she created. I think it's mainly just the creatives here, rather than specifically anything in Yorkshire. It's also just nicer that it's much quieter than where I grew up. Well, I grew up in London, so there's always something going on, or you're bumping into tourists, or it's a very fast-paced environment. So coming down to Leeds, it felt like life slowed down a bit, and I actually had time to meet new people and talk to other creatives that were here at all the different universities, which was really lovely. I think the collaboration I did with Tom Hill, where we created Airbag with all the yellow pieces about protection, was one of my proudest moments. And because there were so many people involved with it, you had so many people pick up on different things and put more ideas in, and just seeing it at the end, like on a film, with all these beautiful photographs that he took, and just to read the poetry. And there were so many different, there was a graphic designer that made the font look like the garments that were in that the poetry was typed up in. And so that was something I've achieved that I was very proud of, because it came together better than we thought it would. Well, currently I'm just working on sampling and toiling for the graduate collection, and I'm doing it on like anamorphic art and transformational garments. So yesterday I was toiling a trench coat that turned into like a short little boxy jacket, and it worked well, and I'm obviously still going to try and develop things further. But even just like small things like that that'll help build my graduate collection has been really lovely. And yeah, trying to make transformational garments has posed to be very challenging, but it's getting better. I just need to work out more things. And also using poppers and like ties. Or I made another toile the other day where it's like a really, really big jacket, t-shirt, jumper type thing. I haven't decided the fabric yet, but a big top half. It had all these ties that would tie it tighter, so whatever size you were, it managed, you'd fit in it perfectly. And changed it from a very, very tight, roughly textured with ties all over garment to like a big, big baggy t-shirt almost. So yeah, I've been enjoying making transformational garments, or attempting to make them anyway. So I started by looking, when I was looking at all of it, what am I going to do for graduate collection? I started looking at the Rorschach test, and that's why my friend spoke about Cornelio Parker's snake venom. And that led me on to anamorphic art, which is, they used to do it a lot in the 16th century. They would have, you can basically only see the piece of art through like a cylinder that's reflective. And so it looks like almost like the shape of a banana. And it's got all these like wiggly, strange circular lines. But when you look through a curved reflective surface, you see the image in full. So I was looking at that because I don't know why, it reminded me of the Rorschach test. And I wanted to I have a problem with my brain, and people can't tell that from first looking at me. So I wanted to mirror that with the fact you look at this piece of art and you think, oh, it's nice, some abstract shapes, but then you put the mirror up to it, the curved mirror, and you see a whole completely different thing. So I wanted to reflect that between how it's always take a second glance and like check, because there's always two things to everything. Now it's also where transformational garments came in, because it's a boxy jacket, but it's also a trench coat. So I was, just looking at the double sides to things, and things that are more than one thing, whether it's a garment, piece of art, or a medical condition. I was a bit nervous to even mention the fact that I wanted it to mirror something to do with like something so personal. So that's why with my garments, it's when people that let's say I don't want to talk about the specific thing being like mirroring like a condition I live with, is saying, oh, it's to do with transformational garments and anamorphic art, which to the eye, yes, it looks completely like that. But then there's that second layer of, it means a lot more to me. And I think when I talk to people about it that I feel comfortable with, it almost opens them up, and they're even more intrigued looking at the work, because it's got that bit more depth to it. But if I'm not feeling like I want to talk about it, it still to the surface makes sense as anamorphic art and transformational garments. It's a strange one, I've never actually been asked that. I don't know, kind of just get on with life, try and just move on. Keep my emotions in my fashion rather than, that's pretty much the easiest way to say it.